What's good YouTube? Today's video is going to be a Marksmanship Hunter guide for 10.1. We're going to go over everything for the Marksmanship Hunter from talents to tier sets, rotation, stat priority and consumables, and also any macros you might want to use. At the end of the video I'll also go over my overall thoughts on this spec going into this season. So if this video does help you out then please feel free to drop a like down below and also subscribe to your boy, but let's crack on with the guide. Regarding talents, we'll start off with a Mythic Plus or AoE build. Here we'll sacrifice some single target throughput for some massive AoE gain. We pretty much take the default path for all hunter specs as a marksmanship hunter, putting points into mandatory nodes like kill shot, which is also the base of our new tier set, post haste for some strong mobility gain as well. We'll also be taking misdirection to redirect our threat to the tank from our insane burst potential, and we'll also take tar trap as well as tranquilizing shot for some extra utility in Mythic Plus. In the middle you can also take binding shot. This is amazing as some kiting potential for your tank, or you could always swap it out to scatter shot, which may work out better for pugging as a single target stop. We're going to buff up our defensive capabilities with Nature's Endurance, making our main defensive cooldown much stronger, and we'll also max out points in Natural Mending and also Rejuvenating Wind to buff up our Exhilaration and get some extra health points. Finally, towards the bottom of the tree, we're going to go for Death Chakram, as well as Explosive Shot to contribute to our insane burst, and then you can either finish the tree off with Poison Injection, or I personally like Hydra's Bite to beef up our passive Serpent Stings and also spread more. Over to the Marksmanship tree, we want to build down the left towards the new talent in 10.1, in the Rhythm. This talent is a massive DPS increase and smooths out the rotation nicely with the extra haste. If you do have the new 4-piece, you'll put points into Deathblow and Razor Fragments, as these synergize massively with the new tier set. If you don't already have it though, just whack these 2 points into Focused Aim for some extra aim shot and rapid fire damage. After this, you're going to take Volley for a 45-second burst window, which pairs very nicely with the Salvo talent that we're going to build down to on the left, giving us 2 free explosive shots on that 45-second window too. Bulletstorm is a talent to note here, as this is going to massively increase your multi-shot damage. And then in the middle, we're going to take our main cooldown in True Shot and further buff this up by taking our second capstone, Unerring Vision, increasing our critical strike and critical strike damage towards the end of our True Shot windows. And this also pairs very nicely with our third and final capstone, Windrunner's Guidance, which is going to give us a chance to proc True Shot whenever we aim shot, making us quite the RNG spec, but damn does it feel good when you do get those procs. Moving on to the raid or single target build, the class specific talents aren't too dissimilar. Depending on the fight you can play around with the different utilities, as abilities like your counter shot, tar trap and tranquilizing shot aren't going to be necessary on every single fight. So instead of these, you can pick up more movement speed in Trailblazer, and we're also going to swap out our explosive shot for another point in Serrated Shots for some extra execute, but other than that, it's mostly going to stay the same. Similarly, in the spec specific tree, not too much is going to change. We're still going to build down to Unerring Vision and Windrunner's Guidance, but instead of taking the AoE talents on the left, we're instead going to put these points into Focused Aim and also Steady Focus, which is just going to grant us some extra haste. We'll also whack a point in Lock and Load for some extra free and instant aim shots, which really fleshes out the rotation. With the 4-piece, again you'll want to take Deathblow and Razor Fragments, but if you don't have it yet, as I'm making this early in the season, you can always put these 2 points in Hunter's Knowledge for some extra crit chance on your rapid fire and aim shot. So these are the 2 default talent builds you can use for AoE and single target respectively. Marksmanship is one of the few specs in the game that's able to take all 3 capstones at the bottom of their spec tree, and it feels amazing to play because of this. True Shot procs feel unreal, and they're not too few and far between either, so expect high uptimes on your main cooldown for some insane DPS. For Marksmanship, our tier set revolves around Kill Shot, increasing the use of this ability and its power. Our 2 set will increase the damage of Multi-Shot and Arcane Shot by 10%, but also give them an 8% chance to grant us a Deathblow buff, making Kill Shot usable on any target regardless of their current health. The 4 set is then going to increase our kill shots damage by 15%, and after using will reduce the cooldown of our aim shot and rapid fire abilities by 1.5 seconds. This tier isn't really going to impact our gameplay much, aside from just casting kill shot more due to more procs, but generally its priority in our rotation remains unchanged. Next we'll go over the rotation for the Marksmanship Hunter. To play Hunter, there are a few basic mechanics you must understand. Precise Shots is a buff that is activated whenever you cast Aim Shot. This causes your next 1 to 2 arcane shots or multi-shots after casting it to do 75% more damage. You don't want to waste this buff by casting Aim Shot whenever you have it active, so you'll always want to spend the charges first, provided the Aim Shot isn't going to overcap on its charges. For the most part, you'll generally ignore these buffs while you're in your true shot windows as well. In AoE, trick shots is going to be your primary mechanic. Whenever you cast your aim shot on 3 targets or above, your next aim shot or rapid fire will cleave up to 5 additional targets for 55% of its original damage. You'll simply want this buff to be active whenever you're going to cast aim shot or rapid fire while dealing with 3 or more targets. Do note that Volley grants you a trick shots buff for 6 seconds that isn't consumed, so you don't have to press multi-shot at all during this window. For single target, this is going to be your opener. You'll pre-cast an aim shot when there is 2.5 seconds left on the pull timer, followed by 2 steady shots to get your steady focus buff. Then you're going to use your death chakram and into your true shot, cast 2 aim shots back to back, and then you're going to finish off with a rapid fire. After this, MM has a priority system that you'll want to follow. You want to use steady shot to maintain the steady focus buff. You should prioritize refreshing this buff by casting 2 steady shots only when you would have to cast 1 steady shot naturally, or if there is less than 5 seconds on the buff. But do make sure not to bother refreshing this buff during true shot. Our next priority is to use aim shot if it's about to overcap during true shot, followed by death chakram on cooldown, then kill shot on cooldown if we have a death blow proc or if the target is below 20% health. Then we're going to use our true shot on cooldown, and this is our main cooldown, so you should only use it when you can stand still for most of its duration. After this, we're going to aim shot on cooldown and never let it cap on charges during your true shot, followed by a rapid fire on cooldown. Then we're going to cast 2 steady shots in succession when the steady focus buff has less than 5 seconds remaining. After this, we're going to use arcane shot to spend precise shot stacks and as a filler if you have above 55 focus. And finally, we're going to use steady shot when we have nothing else to press. The AoE rotation is almost entirely similar to the single target rotation, but instead you'll want to activate trick shots for every single aim shot and rapid fire that you press, including during true shot. This is going to be your AoE opener, and it assumes you're using the recommended Mythic Plus talents. You'll start off with an explosive shot, followed by a death chakram. Then you're going to use Volley at your enemy's feet, and you'll want to macro Salvo into Volley for ease, and I'll leave this macro in the description. After this, you'll activate True Shot into 2 aim shots, and then a rapid fire, and then finally we're going to cast multi-shot to again activate trick shots. After this opener, the AoE rotation for Marksmanship Hunter is based on the following priority system. Your first priority is going to be casting Kill Shot when available to spend your Razor Fragment procs. Then you're going to use Explosive Shot on cooldown, followed by Death Chakram on cooldown, and then your Volley and Salvo Macro on cooldown. Our next priority is to use True Shot as many times as possible during the fight or dungeon, but save it for important mobs and damage amplification phases. Then we're going to use multi-shot to spend our precise shot stacks, or to activate trick shots, and also as a filler when we have more than 55 focus. If aim shot is about to reach 2 charges, then ignore your precise shot stacks, as long as you still have trick shots active. Then we're going to use aim shot on cooldown at all times and never let it reach 2 charges, but again make sure that trick shots is active. The same goes for rapid fire, which is your next priority to use on cooldown. Just make sure you've got trick shots. And then finally, we're going to use steady shot when we have nothing else to press. For stats for your Marksmanship Hunter, as always, if you're ever confused if a piece of gear is an upgrade, I would always recommend you to sim your character first. That being said, this is the stat priority for Marksmanship. Here you can see that the stats are generally balanced in value, but haste and crit are ahead, with mastery not too far behind. Our least valuable secondary stat is versatility, but remember it does give you some passive damage reduction. Here is a list of the recommended enchants for your Marksmanship Hunter. On your weapon, you'll want to go with the High Intensity Thermal Scanner. On your cloak, you're going to go with the Graceful Avoidance enchant. Chest, you'll go with Waking Stats. On your belt, you'll go for the Shadowed Belt Clasp. On your braces, you'll go for the Avoidance enchant again. You'll apply a Fierce Armor Kit to your legs. For your boots, you'll go for the Plain Runner's Breeze, as this is the only tertiary stat that actually provides a DPS increase. And finally, on your rings, again, I would always recommend you to sim, but generally you'll go for the Devotion of Haste on both of your rings. Overall, the file I'd recommend for MM Hunter is the file of Tepid Versatility. It provides us with some nice flat damage, but more importantly, helps us become a tad more tankier, which Marksmanship definitely needs. Elemental Potion of Power is going to be your DPS potion of choice, with Refreshing Healing Potion being your best healing potion. Your weapon enchant will be Completely Safe Rockets, and ideally you'd want to consume a feast for the agility buff, but Deviously Deviled Eggs are a good backup as some personal food. For gems, you'll want to use 1 Fierce, a Limited Diamond, and craft the Ephemerals in the rest of your gem slots. Going over macros for the MM Hunter, I don't actually use too many myself, but regardless, I'll leave mine all in the paste bin in the description. But generally, for any targeted ground abilities, I'll use an @cursor macro. This means whenever I throw a freezing trap or a binding shot, or even a tar trap, I don't actually have to use the green swirly to click and place. I can just pre-place my cursor and then throw the trap. I also use some at-focus macros, which makes kicking mobs a lot easier. This allows me to focus on a priority target while kicking another mob without having to target swap, and you can use this for abilities like counter shot, concussive shot, and also scatter shot. Overall, Marksmanship Hunter is definitely a great pick going into Season 2. They have some of the best on-demand burst in the game with their powerful cooldowns that can make difficult encounters a lot easier. Your AoE burst potential is incredible, and with the new talent build, the single target is definitely not to be slept on either, with a massively high true shot uptime you can upkeep. They are a highly mobile spec with some mediocre defensive potential. Unfortunately, this is one of their weaknesses, as well as not bringing a raid buff, but if played well, this can definitely be overlooked. But that's all you need to know for the Marksmanship Hunter, and that wraps up this guide. If this guide did help you, then please feel free to drop a like down below and subscribe to your boy, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.